Welcome back. I'm James Johnson, and that's my lovely mother, LaDonna. We were going to be talking about Game of Thrones. We've read the first 5 books. We've seen the first 6 seasons, and this is my theory. We're talking about predictions and theories. My mom does not agree with this at all, and I'm not really saying that it's true. I'm saying that whether it was done intentionally or not, the show has set up something to obfuscate what it means to be who you are, whether Arya is really Arya. So the Faceless Men, a Faceless Man is somebody who has removed their self. It is a person without an ego. They are just the id. I think that's right. I'm bad with those terms, but I think that's right. There's no ego. There's no self. And they're capable of taking someone else's self and putting it on them. Now, they maintain some simple goal that they're ultimately trying to do, but they put on a mask and truly become somebody else. It's method acting. It's thinking like that person you're pretending to be, wanting the things they want, wondering what they would say next. It's not having to wonder, what would they say next? It's just saying it because you are them. If that is the point of a Faceless Man, that ultimately you're supposed to delete all the layers until there's nothing left so that they can give you a goal and then put another layer on top of that that has all the layers a human would. It's a rotten center of the onion, or a piece of garlic at the center of the onion. I was talking to my mom about this, and this is random, but I was talking about when parents tell their children to be yourself. Are they saying, and there's no answer to this, are they saying, be the person you always have been? Well, that's not true, because you expect people to change, and change is good because we're all flawed. Are they saying to be the person you want to be? Well, kind of, but not necessarily, because you can want to be something you're not, and that's arguably when it's most commonly used. No, just be yourself. Be yourself. It's an innocuous term. It's really saying to be comfortable with yourself, but to be yourself. We expect to change who we are. We aim to be something better. That could be arguably what a god is to some people. But it's a facade, whether we're aware of it or not. There's layer over layer over layer. We're aware of some of the things we're doing. We're trying to change the way we act to be kinder to people, or ruder, depending on the situation, I guess, to get what we want, but also care for others, to show people love even when it's not there, and to truly love people despite the things they're doing against us. We're aware of it, but it's also so layered it's impossible to really peel them all off. The Faceless Men remove all that, but can pretend to be other people. So, when Arya and the Waif fight in the dark, Arya wins, and she goes to the Faceless Men and she says, "Quit fucking following me. I know that you sent the Waif. I'm Arya Stark. Fuck off. I'm going back to Westeros." Buy in. I'm not saying this is true. In fact, I'm not positive it's true. The point is, and I'm not even saying it's true, the point is that this is something that they can play with. Arya has fucked with her own psyche by pretending to be other people. What is she anymore? But she has Needle, and we know she loves her family, and she wants to kill these people on this list. We have no proof, and I mean proof, and that's a subjective term in a way, but we have no direct evidence that Arya survived that fight between her and the Waif. It was in the dark. Apparent Arya left it and went to the Faceless Men and said, "Don't follow me anymore." And she took the face off the other girl. That should make us question. She took the face off the other girl, so she added it to the Hall of Faces, which is what Jaqen said. But Jaqen didn't say that to her. Jaqen said it. I think he said it to the Waif. One way or another, a face must be added to the whole. I can't remember who he said it to. It's irrelevant. If the Waif survived and took Arya's face, she would pretend to be Arya to the nth of her ability, which would mean wanting to kill those people that she has on the list, which would mean loving her family, which would mean wanting Needle. And the fact that the face was cut off, I mean, that should signify to us that we really don't know, because it could have been the Waif who took her own face off and replaced it with the other face. And again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying that it's an opportunity for them to play with this. And I find it hard to believe that the writers, and I think Martin, if this is intentional and it's going to play on it, and this is the kind of stuff he did with Hodor. This is the kind of stuff that's like metaphysical. It makes you cognitive dissonance to the point of tears and empathy. We have no proof that Arya is Arya. You could bring this up in a million different ways. You could say, if Arya presents herself, if Arya has the ability to change who he is and comes back to, say, Sansa and says, I'm here, and shows Sansa what she can do, a normal human's reaction would be, how do I know you're Arya? You're saying to me that you've spent the last 2 years of your life learning how to pretend to be other people, and you can do it so well that they might as well be as real as the real person you are. How do I know that this is the real you? How do you know this is the real you? It brings my mom's not a fan of the movie, but I like it, and for different reasons than I like most movies. But I Heart Huckabees, there's a scene where Jude Law is talking to Lily Tomlin and Dustin Hoffman, who are psychotherapists, basically trying to tell people how to live their life, that it's about order and justifying your actions, and the other side is random. But Lily Tomlin and Dustin Hoffman say, just be yourself. And Jude Law says, how am I not myself? And they start repeating, how am I not myself? How am I not myself? How am I not myself? So I'm just saying that I find it hard to believe that the writers would have put this scene in where these two potentially perfect actors, faceless people who want to take over other people's identity, are in a dark room fighting. We don't see who wins, and one of them comes out saying, I won. Well, how do we know it was them? We have no proof it was them. I find it hard to believe that the writers would write that and not know that that's an intentional obfuscation of what occurred. And again, I'm not saying that wasn't Arya that came out. I'm saying even Arya herself can't be sure. Because what if it was the Waif and she put on Arya's face and she pretended to be Arya for so long that she forgot she wasn't Arya? And now somebody's saying, I'm not sure I can trust that you're Arya. And she starts to think, am I Arya? And don't forget that in the books, when you put on those faces, you get their memories. You get their memories, which means you, given enough time, you could be convinced. I mean, this is exactly what happens in, oh my God, how am I not remember this? I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulders of Orion. I've seen sea beams glisten in the darkness off Tiananmen's Gate, and all these moments will be lost like tears in the rain. Blade Runner. The girl, the replicant, the female replicant, has memories that they're real to her. How does she know they're real? This is exactly the kind of shit that Martin does, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but we don't know that's her. And there could be a moment where someone says, I don't know if I can trust you, Arya. I see this as Arya. She's acting like Arya. She likes the things Arya likes. She's spunky and tough, loves her family. But that's exactly what someone would do if they were faking to be Arya. And that would make Arya think, how do I know I am who I am? Now, the show didn't go into the transfer of memory, so that messes it up a little bit, but it's something to consider. All right, Mom, I know you disagree entirely on this, so go for it.
Disagree entirely on it. It makes no sense. If you're suggesting that she's the Waif, which you did, and then you backed off of it, the Waif has no connection at all with the storyline. So, no. And
Prince and the Pauper.
Nah, just not seeing it. But
Prince
one thing
I didn't think about it, Mom, but think about that. It's the Prince and the Pauper. I cut you off. I apologize. Go for it.
It doesn't make any sense in the storyline. But having said that, we've discussed before that in the context of the books and in the show, but especially in the books, Arya was so much younger when all this went down, and as were all the children. And we've wondered whether or not she can ever come back from such an embattled experience that she's had from a very young age. And we thought that Gendry would be instrumental in helping her come back to who she is. He knew her as a child. You know, childhood friends can bring you back to who you were then. And so I disagree with you, but, you know, we are playing with identities. The show is not going there. And you're right. They did have some memories when they put on the faces. I think the ugly little girl had her face smashed in from a bad dad, and she, you know, felt all that, and it was terrifying to her. And Jack or the old man there had to kind of talk her off the ledge and say, it's okay, you really didn't go through with it, it's just memory. But no, I don't agree with your theory at all. This is simpler than that, although Martin certainly does obfuscate things, but she's coming back with a vengeance, and that's all there is. Be interesting to see if Gendry rings her bell. When I hit that steel, I make it sing. I love that chapter in the book. Where was that, at Applewood or something like that?
I think that you're talking about the TV show when he threatens Hot Pie. You know, when I hit that steel, I make it sing.
Yeah, but in the books, it's in the context of Arya and here fighting, and he says, she's too young anyway at that time, and he knows it, but he's looking at some attractive girl and says, maybe I'll go ring her bell. So anyway, we've got a little romance going on, a preteen romance of her. So, and when she looks at Gendry when he's forging the steel and hammering, and he's, you know, stripped down to the waist, and she's eating an apple she's eating an apple and she is just looking at him and says, you should turn side face, and he says sideways. But what she's really doing is looking at his body. So we've got that going on too. That'll be really cute.
Well, I do want to add that in this theory of mine, I do think, all right, again, clear your minds, because we're going down a rabbit hole, but in my opinion, Arya has gone too far to save herself. And I had a theory in a previous video about Roose Bolton being an kind of long-term rebel faceless man who's the son of the Night's King. Apparently that's not true, at least in the show. But there's a whole lineage through him that there is no surviving warg from the Night's King's lineage. The Night's King's a warg who was turned into what he is, but he had a kid before it with that female other that he met, and that the kid wasn't a warg, which means the warg lines end, but he's the king, so it's his lineage that matters, which means his kid has to marry somebody who's a warg to bring the warg blood back into their bodies, because the Night's King can't have any more kids and continue the warg. So Roose would rape Arya, knowing that Arya's a warger, and that kid would be the one the Night's King would want to get into to rule everything all over again. That's not apparently what's happening. The point is, I do think that Arya will end up with Gendry. I do not think she will be in her original body, and I mean that. And they may not go this way on the show, but I picture her putting her mind into Nymeria to save when something horrible happens to her. And I have no idea if this is going this way, and the more I think about it, the more I say they haven't set it up like this in the show. But wouldn't that be a similar obfuscation of what does it mean to be yourself? If Arya ended up putting her mind into Nymeria because of the trauma she was suffering in her real body, can't get back into her real body, now she's in Nymeria, and there's a moment, and her original body, in my opinion, is ultimately taken over by the Night's King to protect the baby, but to fight. So she's in Nymeria, her own body is lost in the final battle, and she sees Gendry with a Snow White, not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty sort of figure, a woman that's catatonic, who Gendry has affections for, and Arya puts her mind into this person so that when there's a kiss and a wake up, a sort of Sleeping Beauty sort of situation, and Snow White too, it happens at the end of Snow White, then Arya continues to live, but with somebody else's body. What does it mean to be yourself? And then go back further to the Waif and say, if that wasn't the Waif, and it's the whole idea that Martin's playing with about immortality, that whites live forever. They have no consciousness. White walkers live forever. They have no free will. I mean, they kind of have a free will, but ultimately they submit. And I mean, what does it mean to have free will or to have immortality, and for Arya to not have, to have, and resurrection as well, for Arya to survive in the Waif's mind by the Waif pretending to be her, and then to have some cognitive dissonance that makes her unsure of who she is, which either makes her question that she really is herself, if she is, or makes her question whether she really is Arya, if she isn't. It obfuscates it. And then to have this idea of Arya passed on to Nymeria, and then passed on again, so that, is she still her? What does it mean to be yourself? What if somebody took over your role? What if somebody, your best friend died and left a wife with all these responsibilities, and you and the relationship ended up building up, and you kind of take over their roles, but you're not them. Are you a father to those children? Yeah, you can be in a way. What does it mean to be a father? Does somebody who's never, who is Jon's father? Is it Rhaegar, who donated the genes? Is it Ned, who took him over? What does it mean to be yourself? And I know that I'm going off on a random thing, but I think it all plays into this. If it's true, and if it's not true, so be it. No big deal. It's just a theory. It's just something to talk about, really. That this is the whole point. These books make you think. And right or wrong, I think that the idea that we don't have the ending yet and can think about it is one of the most beautiful things about it right now. It's brilliant, and the ending, I have no doubt, will be amazing. If anything foreshadowed that, it was Hodor, the situation with Hodor. That kind of intellectual deep thought portends well for the end. But consider the possibility that the authors are intentionally playing with the idea that maybe the Waif won that battle. What does it mean to be yourself? If somebody's truly pretending to be somebody else, at what point do they become that other person? Any last thoughts, Mama?
The identity issues, I absolutely agree. They're in there. They're in there for a number of people. Theon has identity problems. For all intents and purposes, he gets split in two for a while and has to reintegrate. Arya has had her issues. Even Sansa had some disassociation when she wasn't sure if she was Elaine or Sansa for a while. But as to the Waif being involved in this anymore, no, it's gone. I do think you're right, though, that Bruce Bolton in the books has a far different and more complicated role than he was shown in it's there. It's laid out in prose so specifically about how much he is icy and his eyes are so blue and all of that. He's related somehow with, maybe not to, but with the Night's King in some regard, but they've left that completely out of the show. They just chopped it all up, and that's fine. They can't do it all. But yeah, disagree with you, respect your opinion. I did want to say one last thing. If you all haven't watched Westworld, watch it. It's not as brilliant as Martin, but it's really, really, really good. Really good. Trying to get Jane.
She's convincing. I'm going to. She's on my ass to do it now. All right. Thank y'all for watching.
Love you. Bye, folks. Thank you.
Love you, Mama.